Hi, and welcome to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast for athletes, coaches, and professionals who want to achieve their goals faster. I'm David Charlton, and I'll be sharing proven methods from leading athletes, coaches, and experts that will help you get the most from your talent. Today's show is sponsored by Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gosforth near Newcastle upon Tyne and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support and excellent rehabilitation services. Today I'm joined by a fabulous guest, someone who against all odds made a childhood dream come true when she became the first woman in the world to compete in a World Rally car for Ford in the World Rally Championships. And to this day, she remains the only woman to have achieved this. And when you look at it, it's not bad considering she was homeless for 3 years in London. So I'm going to welcome onto the show Penny Mallory, who's going to go on to talk about her inspiring journey and the attributes that she has and that you can develop in order to achieve your goals and deal with stressful situations better. Hi, Penny. Welcome to Demystifying Mental Toughness. What I've seen from your content that you've posted on YouTube and from your book, I noticed one of the things that you mention is the impossible is possible. Do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit about your journey and where that came from?
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for inviting me. I don't want to over-egg the pudding and sort of make it I'm some kind of superhero making the impossible possible. But I suppose what I was trying to say was what I thought I wanted to do, which was to be a rally driver, was out of the question. It really was an impossibility for me because I left home at 14 and I was homeless and I was with a heroin addict boyfriend and life was really, really grim. And all I wanted to do was drive rally cars. It was never, ever going to happen. It was a sort of impossibility, but it did happen. And I became the first woman in the world to drive for Ford and to drive in the World Championship in a World Rally car. So that was beyond my wildest dreams. And the principles that I use to make that happen are available to everybody. So that's really my point, is that we can all do things we don't think we can do.
Do you want to tell me a little bit more about the situation there when you talked about being homeless and then turning things around?
Okay, so I grew up in a weirdly dysfunctional home. My mum, bless her, was very severe manic depressive. So she was drinking heavily. She was trying to kill herself one minute and then doing weird, crazy, embarrassing stuff the next. She was in lunatic asylums, as they called them in those days, most of my childhood. And I just was a very angry kid, very resentful, shut down emotionally, didn't talk to anyone, found it hard to make friends, all that stuff. Scared of my dad, didn't talk to my brother, just utterly dysfunctional and sort of void. I made myself void of emotion. And I didn't enjoy that environment. So when I left at 14, I never went back. And of course, you're not meant to leave when you're 14. You're meant to have a sort of safe, comfortable environment. So I made lots of mistakes and had sort of living on the edge a bit. Although I quite liked it, it felt like an adventure. And no one was telling me what to do, which I thought was amazing. And I became super independent and super determined to do something with my life and to actually get noticed. So I'm really grateful to my parents and all the dysfunctional people around me because it made me really tough and it made me determined and focused. And underneath all of it was the desperate desire to be noticed by my dad, although I didn't work that out for years. So when I got into a rally car, which is something I'd wanted to do, I saw it on TV when I was 6. It just stuck in my head. And I grew up with that dream just parked in the back of my mind, not really expecting to do anything about it. But like for a lot of people, you hit rock bottom, you reach your lowest ebb and you think, it's all over. And I remember very clearly thinking, before it's all over, I've just got to do this one thing I've always wanted to do, which is go to a rally school and drive a rally car, which I did. I borrowed some money. I lied and borrowed some money off someone. And thank goodness I did, because it changed the entire course of my life.
So when you got into rally driving there, I'm guessing you had a variety of different challenges that you had to overcome during that part of the journey.
Well, you'll know because you understand sport. Right, motorsport is as expensive as it gets. You can't just be a rally driver. You need sponsorship. And I didn't have any money myself, but I worked incredibly hard to find somebody to pay for it for me. I borrowed actually tens of thousands of pounds. I lied and lied and lied to the banks It took me 14 years to pay that money back. But it got me in a car, and I didn't care about the money because I just wanted to drive. Then I found some sponsorship. I just kept going until I found sponsorship. And then I became a bit of a novelty, a bit of a freak girl driving. And then I got some amazing sponsors. I was sponsored by Wash and Go and Pinnacle Insurance and Indesit washing machines and Femidom. I don't know if you remember that, the female condom. I had some amazing sponsors. And that was the secret to my success, in a sense, because you need money to get up the tree. So I was able to move teams, upgrade the car until I got to the absolute top of the tree.
Before you got to the top of the tree, it sounds like you were gradually building your mental toughness, if you like, along the way through those experiences.
I absolutely was. I didn't know I was doing that, to be fair. And you know as well as I do, it's all developable, it's all improvable. And I didn't realise that I was developing all of these things actually since I was born. But I became incredibly resilient and incredibly determined, and I didn't get distracted. And I was so focused, and it all was working really well for me. I realised that if you have those attributes, you can make extraordinary things happen. Some of it still took me by surprise. I still wanted stuff. And when it happened, I was like, whoa, I didn't really expect it to happen. But I probably more committed than most people. I was prepared to give up absolutely everything in pursuit of my dream. And again, I'm quite a risk taker still. So I don't mind putting stuff on the line because ultimately I believe in my ability. So maybe things like that, where I'm prepared to push a little bit further than most to get what I want, did make a difference.
Do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit more about that drive there and pushing to the edge?
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly embarrassed about it, but I'm also really proud of it because I suppose, and you'll know this better than most, Dave, high performers will block out certain things because their performance or the thing that they're after is the most important thing. So if I want to be Formula One world champion 6 times over, I'm going to have to make sacrifices to do that. And okay, I wasn't going to be Formula One, but I wanted to be a rally driver. I was prepared to make sacrifices. I was prepared to put stuff on the line. And I think most people probably wouldn't put on the line what I did. So I didn't have any possessions at the time. So I was prepared to leave my husband for it, my boyfriend. At the time, he became my husband. And then because I'm so focused and determined, my marriages don't work. I've been married loads of times and I'm rubbish at it. So there is always a price to pay for performing at that level, because you do sort of push yourself out of the ordinary mediocre thing. And most people aren't prepared to push themselves out of there, pay the price, because they want an easier life. I didn't want an easier life. I wanted that life. So I think a lot of this stuff is about a real commitment. And again, I talk about commitment when I'm doing my keynotes, and I talk about you can be committed a bit or you can be committed. It's almost a bit like pregnancy. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're committed or you're not. There's not levels of commitment for me. And I was completely 100% committed to doing whatever I needed to do. But, I compromised my social life, my relationships, my work, my money, everything suffered because I wanted it so badly. So that's why it doesn't suit most people to operate at that level. Most people want a more balanced life than that.
How would you look after yourself in terms of your energy levels and in order to make sure that those commitment tanks were topped up?
I'm not sure that I was that self-aware, if I'm honest, at the time. I'm much more self-aware now. I think by achieving something, it gave me so much energy and motivation that I just set myself so I've always been a goal setter. I set myself a bigger, bolder goal every time. And that's what energized me. That's what excited me. Because I'm like, whoa, I've done it again. I've made it here. Right. I need another one. And I got there. I'm like, I need another one. So I was always on this relentless mission to do more. Again, that's not easy to live with when somebody's like that. But yeah, I think it's just that focus energizes me. It still does, if I'm honest. But I think at the time, I wasn't aware that I needed to top up my energy or take a step back and have a good look. I was way too into what I was doing to have that level of self-awareness. And it comes with age, I suppose, doesn't it? Like for all of us. Yeah,
no doubt about it. So were you not someone who, were you someone who celebrated your successes, or were you very just quick to move on there?
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember one particular night celebrating winning something, and that was it. I know it was always move on, next. Yep, great, that's good. Okay, next. And that's probably one of my regrets, actually, is that I didn't spend a little bit more time celebrating the wins. Yeah, and just reflecting a little bit and sort of giving myself a pat on the back, going, yeah, you did good, girl. It was always next. So that's a bit of a shame that I don't really remember. You know, people say, what were the high points? What were the most? I don't know, really. And that's a bit of a shame. I probably should have been spending a bit more time in the moment. I was always, and always have been, probably always next, looking forward.
So I suppose knowing what you know now in terms of being a mental toughness practitioner and coach, speaker, is there anything you would have done a little bit differently that you think would have actually improved your performance?
I think there's lots of things I could have done better. I was quite good at the fitness stuff, but I think I could have gone to another level altogether. I probably should have. I found a coach to help me with my performance. He never saw me, never saw my car, never saw my race suit, never came to a rally. I could have done much more coaching. That would have, because that completely transformed my performance. I should have started that early. I wish I had, and done more of it. So the psychological aspects of it, I wish I'd invested more in. Probably more physical fitness, and probably building relationships and with teams. I always thought I was in competition with people, when actually it's taken me a lifetime to work this stuff out, David. I don't need to be in competition with anyone. We can all work together. And that's taken me quite a long time to get my head around. So I'm making myself do lots of working together with people, which is why it's so lovely to be invited by you to do this as well. So collaborations, I should have been better at that in hindsight. But, what I did worked for the time. I would always look to make improvements. But, was it Muhammad Ali who said champions are made in the gym when no one's looking? And I stand by that. I had so many crashes, sponsors pulling out, teams dropping me, co-drivers leaving me, the whole thing. It was really hard. And then you put up a picture of, trophies and winning, and it looks easy. I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea how hard that was. But in a funny way, the journey was the fun bit. The trophy bit was, it doesn't last 2 minutes. It's the journey. The getting there was so much fun.
You mentioned a little bit earlier there about you were very sort of focused and you didn't get distracted by things. So I'm guessing from what you're talking about there, the different challenges that you've been faced with, they obviously didn't faze you too much, or did they?
Well, I had to sort of fake it till I make it, because things would scare me, and then I'd have to pretend that I was fine, pretend to myself, pretend to everyone else, until I actually sort of felt okay. So I always had this fake it till you make it thing, and it was a secret. I didn't tell anyone. I talk about it now, but I genuinely spent an awful lot of my time pretending I felt confident, or pretending I knew what I was doing, when I absolutely didn't. But by pretending, I was sort of living it out. And as soon as I lived it out and it worked, I thought, oh, actually, that gave me confidence. So it was a sort of self-perpetuating circle that worked for me. So faking it till you make it is something that can really work well for people. And I was always amazing at visualization. And I'm on my 7th house renovation. I can walk into an old wreck and see the finished product instantly. I was always visualizing very strongly, and everything that I wanted to achieve. It's always, I didn't know I was doing it. It was just something that was part of me. And I think that's helped. That really, I have such a clear vision of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And then I just sort of set about doing it.
You mentioned as well about working on the mental side. Were you using visualization whilst working on your mindset?
Well, I didn't know I was working on my mindset. It's only in hindsight, on reflection, I now realize what I was doing, but I just didn't know I was doing it, which is why when I did get a coach, and I thought, my goodness, this is so powerful. But it was sort of right at the end of my career. I wish I'd done it sooner. So I didn't have an intention to work on my mindset, but it sort of happened naturally. Then I found this coach who was unbelievable, and a little bit of regret set in at that point, thinking, God, if I'd had this guy around in my life to get me thinking like this, wow, what I could have achieved. So it was a bit frustrating, but he coached me, and I fell in love with the process of coaching at that point. I thought, my goodness, I've got to do this for other people when I grow up, which I haven't ever grown up, but I do that now. I just think the coaching experience and process is so fantastically exciting, and getting people to realise and try things they didn't think they could do, and open up new possibilities. It's just brilliantly exciting.
That leads me nicely to a little quote that I've pulled out from one of your keynotes that you've got online there. So when ability and attitude meet, life can get really exciting. Do you want to just share with the listeners what you mean?
Yeah, thank you. I think what I'm saying is the self-belief aspect. I really believe I can do this. A genuine feeling of self-belief, of true inner confidence. When that meets the attitude that says, I'm going to give it a go regardless. I believe I can. And I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to absolutely, if it all crashes and burns and goes horribly wrong, I'm going to take something from this. I haven't really got anything to lose. I'm only going to win or learn. There is no lose here. So that's, I think, what I'm trying to convey. And so when my inner belief and my can-do attitude meet, really things can get exciting, and all sorts of possibilities open up. And I love seeing it when it happens in other people. That to me is what excites me these days. Seeing other people realizing that what they can do. Most people live such a safe and comfortable life. They don't push themselves to try new things. Well, if you don't try new things, you can't learn, you can't develop, and you never ever discover what you're capable of. And that would just be such a terrible shame.
Yes, so many people, they're fearful, aren't they? You mentioned there about failing. And certainly as a rally driver, certainly you really wouldn't want to think too much about failing, because it could be the end of your life, couldn't it?
Well, the consequences are pretty grim. You got 300-foot drop to your right and hundreds of trees on your left. You don't want to be thinking about the consequences of, getting it wrong, failing. So, yeah, and that was another lesson. You focus on what you want in a rally car, not what you don't want. You don't want to be looking over the edge. You only look through the corner where you want to go. It's too dangerous to look anywhere else.
Did you have any incidents then where you did crash and it was a bad one?
Absolutely, loads of them. And they say if you're not crashing, you're not trying hard enough. Because how would you ever find your limit if you didn't crash? You kind of got to go there. You've got to push it too far to know where the line is, which is extremely expensive. And it doesn't please your team or your sponsors or anybody, but it sort of has to be done. And of course, I think that's another thing that toughened me up a bit as well, is that when you knowingly get in a car going, I might have the biggest crash of my life today, I'm going to do it anyway. And that sort of a bit of courage, a bit of recklessness maybe, that does tend to it sharpens you up for sure, because you don't really want to have a crash. And all of those little things helped to strengthen me, I suppose, give me mental toughness.
Yeah, I've worked with a number of people in motorsport and had this type of discussion before. And yeah, knowing that you're putting your life on the line at times, it can only, I suppose, really focus you potentially, yeah. or you'll end up having like PTSD style feelings.
Well, even worse, you lose.
Yeah.
If I'm really focused and I'm going to give it everything, this could go terribly well. But I could just cruise along on half throttle for the whole rally and come halfway down the field, and that's of no interest to me. And of course, it did happen several times. I didn't always do well, but I suppose that's when the ability and the attitude meet, isn't it? When you go, yeah, I may not be the best driver here, but I've got a good car, I've got a great team. I'm just going to give it my best shot. And whatever the consequences are, I'll take it on the chin and learn for next time.
That competitive instinct kicks in.
Mm.
So what would you class are the principles of high performance?
Now, I would say self-awareness is super important. I would say visualization is really important. I think also there's something about the why. Why are you doing this? What is it you're actually trying to achieve? Because I thought I wanted to be a rally champion. Actually, I wanted the attention of my dad. It's just that they were so interlinked, I couldn't see it for years. So why is it you're doing what you're doing? What is it that really matters here? I think if you can unwind that a bit, that's quite useful. And then, of course, the teams that I work with, trust and all those obvious things that the basis of high performing teams are super important. And that took me some years to work out. And I've been lucky enough to work inside a Formula One team. I did some coaching with team principal and a couple of other people. And I've seen principles of high performance working in front of my eyes. It is phenomenal when a team is truly aligned and truly motivated and open, and they truly trust, real good stuff. It is phenomenal to watch. So that wasn't a very brief answer to your question. Sorry.
Absolutely.
But fine. I think it's difficult for me to leave some bits out because they're all so important and they're all interlinked, of course. So hard to separate them out.
Yeah, we could probably talk for another all day about those four things. In all honesty, yeah. I do want to dig a little bit deeper with one of them though, because it's talked about quite frequently. Is this whole thing about why you do it, and it is important to know why you do it. Are you able to explain why that is? Why it is so important to know why?
Well, I think yes, and I think this is really interesting. I worked out when it was all too late that the reason I wanted to be a rally champion, the reason I had been so driven, so focused, was because I wanted my father's love, affection, adoration, attention, time, and anything I could have got from my dad. And this was the way to get it. Therefore, and it was so important to me, it was the most intense need and desire that whatever obstacles stood in my way, I'd get them out of my way, because getting my father's attention was the most important thing. Nothing could prevent me from getting my father's attention. So when I then worked out what had been driving me, how come I did all this stuff and other people sort of had some obstacles and gave up? Why did I not? What kept me going? And it just was that questioning of myself. And then having that light bulb moment going, oh my God, I realized why I did all this. And now I know why I didn't stop till I got it, because I had such an overwhelmingly important need at the end of it. And that's why I think understanding why is important, because it's easy to do things for the wrong reasons. And if you can find the real reason, you just might find another level of commitment, a level of focus, another level of determination, another level of finding a ways around obstacles and setbacks. So I think that's why the why is important, because it is such a big driver. It's a big motivator. It gives you energy. It gives you a reason.
And right now, in the middle of a pandemic, that is such an important question for people to ask themselves, because as we know, there's lots of businesses struggling and failing, and people are overly stressed. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, it's quite distressing, isn't it? I live in a beautiful countryside. I don't go out. I don't see anyone. I haven't done for months. But I do feel quite removed from the reality of all the hospitals about to, just under so much pressure. It just breaks my heart. And the amount of businesses, the stress and pressure people are under like never before, whether they're in work or because they haven't got any work. They both create stress and pressure, don't they? If I can at some level, and I'm sure you feel the same, help people to develop a bit more mental toughness to cope with that stress and pressure, then I need to do it. It's important. People are experiencing whole new levels of this stuff. I was listening to the news this morning, and the NHS nurse was saying, we thought it was bad in March, and it's now, this is unbelievable. We just simply don't have any more resources. We're all shattered. We all need a rest, but we can't. And I don't expect any of those people expected to be working to this level, yet they can. And they will have developed their mental toughness, will they not, to crazy levels. They are now so able to cope with stuff. So as awful as it is now, when the virus has passed, the pandemic leaves us behind, hopefully one day, we're going to be left with some pretty tough people out there, which they're going to, it's got to be a good thing. But there's also, as you know, plenty of people not coping at all. And those people need support and need help.
So to those people who are struggling and are finding the situation quite difficult, what 3 take-home messages would you give to them from our conversation?
I would. I don't want it to sound trite, and and it's difficult, isn't it, to give an answer 3. Here's 3 things you can do to make your life less stressful. I really do think it's worth remembering that even an elite athlete needs a rest day. They don't train 24/7. Everyone needs a break. Whatever you do, you need a break. And you like your body actually needs that break in order to continue to function. So give yourself a bloody break would be one piece of advice. And I know that's easier said than done for an awful lot of people who simply cannot take their foot off the throttle. So take a break, take a rest. I choose your environment. If you are not suited to this environment, then do yourself a favor. I like a bit of stress and pressure in my life. And so if I haven't got it, I probably create it. But a lot of people don't enjoy that. And therefore, they may be in the wrong environment and unsuited, maybe better suited in a different environment. So I think that's important. Just have a little bit of reflection. Is this doing it for me? And reflecting on the why, because a nurse may be doing it for vocational reasons, but she didn't ever sign up to work at this level. And this intensity, so really difficult for those guys. But yeah, be kinder to yourself. I run every day, David. I don't know. You probably do something every day. I have to do it because it keeps me sane. The benefits of me running cannot be underestimated. It's almost like my medication. I need to do it.
I'm exactly the same.
I mean, I hate banging on about exercise because it's all a bit boring, but it's so. I can't avoid the reality of it. It really does make a massive difference.
As well, actually, this time of year when you've got 8 hours of daylight, a little bit more, even just getting outside for a walk, that's really helpful, isn't it? And in the daylight to top up your levels of vitamin D, and it just makes you feel a little bit more alive.
Yeah, you can't underestimate it. And you never regret going for a walk, do you? I never regret going for a run thinking I wish I hadn't done that. Never, not once.
No.
Even if I twist my ankle, I still, it's just got to be done. And I think these awful short days with the twilight in the morning and the twilight blinking 4 o'clock, it does affect people's moods. So anything we can do for ourselves to help lift our mood, we need to do, because it's all hard enough right now.
And in a way that does link to what you mentioned about like reflecting on your environment. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to stretch your day out so you can have a walk or some exercise during the day, then yeah, I would agree. You've got to go for it. If you can adapt things in that way, it's vital.
Yeah, and I think lots of people say, I'm too tired to go for a walk. Well, actually, the walk will probably give you the energy that your body's craving. So it doesn't take energy from you. It restores it. And people, I think, forget that. Yeah,
without doubt. So those 3 take-home messages were: give yourself a break for you, like physically and mentally, to help yourself. Reflect on your environment and make changes if you can do, and then again reflect on your why, and that ultimately is going to help you get through challenges and difficulties. So I really appreciate your time, Penny. Would you be able to point the listeners towards your social media or website so they can get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Thank you, David, so much. Yes, so pennymallory.co.uk is my website. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. I'm absolutely rubbish at social media, but I do have an Instagram account, and I think it's mallory.penny. But there's not. I'm just rubbish at social media. So LinkedIn and my website are the places to find me. And if I can do anything to help anybody, just to get in touch. But thank you so much for inviting me and for the lovely chat.
Yeah, thank you again. I've loved it. It was great to hear your journey and for you to share your insights. The listeners will find it really, really helpful.
Thank you, David.
I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed that chat. Hearing from Penny how she competed, how she beat the odds, and how she concentrated in a racing car after crashes and then got up and got going again. The way she talked about commitment levels and the commitment levels that were required at an elite end of sport, how much heart, courage it takes to keep going, and that refusal to quit. It was really, really powerful, that episode. So a big thank you to Penny again. And if you want more of this, then I suggest that you join myself and my community in the Sports Psychology Hub on Facebook. This group is continuing to grow. On there are athletes, coaches, parents, sports psychologists, other specialists, as well as professionals who've got an interest in sport, all helping each other by sharing ideas and great content so that we work through this period, we move forward and thrive, as opposed to simply surviving. I'd like to give a big thanks to today's sponsors, Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gosforth, near Newcastle upon Tyne, and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support, and excellent rehabilitation services. Thank you for listening to Demystifying Mental Toughness today. To sign up for tips and advice to help you be the best that you can be, go to www.sport-excellence.co.uk and sign up to the Mental Edge newsletter.